Hi guys, welcome back to Read Instead. I'm Jake. Glad to have you here this morning. Good morning to everyone. I have my coffee with me this morning. So yesterday I finished Wrath by John Gwynne, the fourth book in the Faithful and Fallen fantasy series. I finished it in the afternoon, and I had a pretty busy night, and I was pretty tired, and I sat down to watch a movie with my kids. So this is my immediate reaction video to it, although I usually get these out a lot quicker. I try to do them within, just a half hour or so of finishing the novel. But I think it's good because I had a night to sleep on it, and this morning sort of gather my thoughts. I will tell you that I will definitely do a review of the entire series, and I think what I want to do is make that review sort of half non-spoiler, and then maybe the second half of that video will be spoilers, and I'll talk about some things that I really liked about it. There's very few that I can't think of anything off the top of my head that I didn't like about this series. I could certainly nitpick. I can nitpick just about anything, but all in all, this was a very good fantasy, epic fantasy series. Long journey. Our main character, our main protagonist, Corbin, when we first meet him in the first book, Malice, he's just a farm boy, a helping hand to his parents, getting into little arguments with his sister and stuff, just a normal sort of village boy. And as the character arc that he takes from the beginning of Malice, the first book, to this is pretty extraordinary. But let me just talk about Wrath for now. Okay, so if I had to pick out my favorite book in the series, it's gonna have to be this one, just because of the speed in which it goes and the amount of action. I will tell you, the last quarter of this book, okay, this book's I think around 700 pages or so. The last quarter of this book, so we're talking like 200 plus pages, is nothing but non-stop action. I mean, it's a battle. That's what's taking place. You sort of wait the entire series, the three books before, and the whole beginning of this book, all of the different peoples, the different armies that represent different motivations. They're all converging on this one place. I don't want to give away too many details because I feel like I could, if I start to divulge too much information, it's like I'm talking about the last book here. So if I give too much away, I'm also giving things away that happened in the previous three books. So, but basically this throughout the entire series, this meeting is anticipated. Things need to get gathered. People need to get gathered. Literal things. They're called treasures. That's a big part of this whole series. There's 7 treasures that need to be gathered, and when these 7 treasures are gathered, there's an opening to another realm, another worlds, and these angels, basically these sort of evil angels and good angels that represent goodness and peace, have, when these 7 treasures are gathered, they have access to the Banished Land, this world in which John Gwynne created. So this meeting takes place, and it's just nonstop action, and it was pretty intense because you follow some of these characters throughout the entire series. They're point of view characters. I mentioned this before, and I think my last video I just touched on this book because I was reading it at that time, and these novels that John Gwynne writes, this Faithful and Fallen series, point of view chapters. So each chapter is through a character's point of view, about 6 or 7 different characters, and all of the chapters are 3, 4, 5 pages, all of them. 3, 4, between 3 and 5 pages. So it's very fast paced, and it obviously keeps you engaged in all the storylines, and you're waiting for it to sort of converge somehow, and of course they do. But a lot of these characters you've followed from the first book, so it's like you've been on a long journey, and then again, like in the the last quarter of this book. There's a saying, I guess the sort of the catchphrase of this series. You see it right on the bottom of this book. It says, "Even the brave will fall." Well, that's definitely true, and it happens quickly. It happens quickly. Like all within these 200 pages, a lot of people disappear. I was very curious how this was gonna sort of play out in the end. How sort of cliche it was gonna be. Was it just gonna turn into one battle between Corbin and Calidus? Who Calidus is the sort of representative of the god Astaroth, who is the evil god that wants to basically scourge the whole Banished Lands and make a new Earth, basically not planet Earth, but make a new world with just sort of his demon angels. And I was thinking, like, is that just how it's going to end up? And there is an aspect to it. There's something that takes place in the other world, the other realm, which was really, really cool. And I had to sort of think about it for a second after it happened. I don't want to get too much into it, but I just remember that really stuck out to me because it was very sort of it was like spiritual. It was like a spiritual, not just a physical defeat had to happen, but a spiritual defeat. But even aside from the last quarter of the book, like I said, that was just nonstop action. Really, this entire book is so fast paced, and there's so much going on. There's really high intense situations, which there are sort of throughout the whole series. But I just think this book was just an overload, sort of adrenaline rush. Not an overload in a bad way. It was good. It was really intense. So I've finished this series now. This has to be the most epic and sort of big fantasy series that I've ever read. You know what I was thinking? I don't know if they could ever do. This is the kind of, I guess maybe it's called high fantasy. I'm not sure. You fantasy nuts out there can correct me. But the thing that was going through my mind, especially as I was reading this book, because it gets really sort of the scale gets very grand. I don't know if they could ever put this on the screen, because there would just be so much CGI that they would need a budget of like $500 million or something to recreate this series on the screen. There's just, first of all, there's giants that those giant clans. The giant clans in this book they play a very pivotal role in the whole telling of the story. There's demon angels. There are these things called dregs, which are sort of like, I guess they would be described as, they look like Komodo dragons, except the size of pickup trucks, or bigger than that. There are wolves. Corbin, the main character in this book, has a companion, a wolf companion. That's one of the main characters in the whole series, and that's just not like a normal wolf. It's described as, again, as big as a truck. Bears that are as big as trucks that the giants ride, sort of like horseback. There's just so many things that I think it would be very difficult to make into a television series or a movie or anything like that, but who knows. But I wanted to say that because it gives you guys sort of an idea of what kind of fantasy this is. I think there's a lot of fantasy. A couple videos ago, I reviewed the Greenbone Saga by Fonda Lee, the Jade City, Jade War, and Jade Legacy. That would be very easy to make into a series. As a matter of fact, they probably are. All it is just some sort of high action martial arts and stuff like that, and that's about it. So it's interesting to see the different dynamics when it comes to different fantasy series. So all in all, like I said before, this series I think deserves an entire review. I'm gonna I'll take my time before putting that together, and I'll put that out there. But I'm glad I read it. It was enjoyable. It was just because of the sheer size of it, and the time that it took to read it and whatnot. It's going to be something that'll stick with me for for a very long time. I'll remember the characters. Some of the characters I was very, like I said, they're point of view characters. Some of them I was really, when I flipped that page and I saw, that name at the top of the heading, and I was getting back into that character, it was like, I just found myself very tied to a couple of these characters. And in that review that I make of the entire series, I'll talk about those characters. That's going to be it, guys. My immediate reaction to Wrath, again, the 4th book in the Faithful and Fallen series, the final book. It's over. I have finished this series. I enjoyed it very much. I gave this 4.5 stars on Goodreads. I put it in as 4 stars and just wrote in my review 4.5. It was just a crazy ride. Wrath by John Gwynne, the Faithful and the Fallen series. I would encourage you guys to check it out. Take care. I'll see you next time.